I don't see anything that scares me this early in the process. And then page 15 is our transfers, and then after that, our high school and middle school reports. So if you have any questions.
If no one has any questions for Mike, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financials at $419,796.53.
This is John Sheets, so moved.
Second, Curtis Peterson.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the financials. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, there are no public patron concerns, so we will move to administrative reports and Dr. Myers.
All right, I'll start off with last Wednesday, Senator Moran came by the office here. Spent probably 30 to 45 minutes with Matt and myself. He was doing, well, actually, he said he was going to go speak for the Rotary or something like that in Garden, and decided he wanted to come by here and talk to us basically about COVID and our responses and what could he possibly do for us, you know, from the national level as far as helping us out with our responses to whatnot. Nice conversation. It was really cool. One of the little aides that he had with him was a former student of mine down in Elkhart. So that's kind of cool to be able to make connections again. So I don't know, anything to add about that, Matt, besides just a good conversation with Senator Moran?
Always nice to talk to politicians.
Beyond that, moving on. The Longhorn Festival is just just up in the air for right now. We are going to, originally it's supposed to be on the 8th of this month, due to everything going on. Decided not to do that. Then we're starting to look at a movie night. Then it's pointed out that in the past they've done that with over 200 people show up. So basically I think we're going to punt now to the spring. We'll find something really worthy of being done because it's an important event. But it's going to take place later on. Just want to mention, I'd written to the board about this, but I've been requested, I received an invitation to join the board of directors for the Association for Advancing Quality Educator Preparation, otherwise AAQEP. There are two organizations in the nation who accredit colleges of education. So like Kent State University has a college of education, Wichita State does, all these different places. In order for their programs to count, they have to go through a process, just like we have to go through a process of accreditation. Well, all of these national groups have a board of directors. And so they've asked me if I would like to join them. Obviously this year, all of the meetings would be virtual. So it's no time away whatsoever, but that's kind of exciting. Keep my finger back in that pie. Let you know, through the good hard work of Mike once again, we received a waiver on the work after retirement penalty, if you will. Several years ago, the state put in to play, if a retiree from Capers were hired to come work for a Capers institution, you had to pay an additional 30%, Mike, or whatever it was, additional surcharge for that. We discovered that due to COVID, we were able to put in for a waiver on that. So Jerry Jones, who is a retiree, we were able to get the waiver on that. It's not huge money, but it's money. Speaking of money, Spark 2 and FEMA efforts. As I think we made it clear, I said $248 last month. It's really $248,000. We received the award check from the Spark 1 process. The cash is not in our hands yet, but it's coming soon, I'm sure. We just, today, submitted for another $350,000 for Spark 2. The decision on that is October 19, ostensibly, unless they push it back a little bit. That is, like Ryan was talking a little while ago, asking questions about, that's for network switches and hotspots. It's been an interesting journey as far as trying to get that completed, but it's there now. And that's phase 2, program 3. Phase 2, program 1 is the one where we may be we'll put in for the expenses for laptops and the items that Ryan mentioned on the bottom of page 1. And one last piece about all of this stuff, we're awaiting the decision on FEMA. We've submitted $90-some odd thousand worth of stuff to FEMA. So far, it's been a really good process. They've not said the word yes to us yet, but we've submitted all the paperwork that needs to be submitted, hoping that turns our way. If we hit on all these things, it'll be over $600,000 we'll be getting back. And we have at least 2 more FEMA projects we're looking to turn in as well. So it should help us mitigate the expenses we've had toward all of this COVID stuff that we've been doing. Last item to talk to you about is you have in your hands our COVID sheet, if you will. This shows, I'll tell you, 363 is doing a fine job. Our numbers are not high at all. Knock on wood, throw salt over your shoulder, whatever it takes. Don't want to curse ourselves, but we're doing a very good job of not having positive cases and not having cases in quarantine. This is as of last Friday, so it's not updated to reflect anything from today by any means. But we've had a grand total, as when this was printed, 3 positive students and 3 positive adults. That's important to know, but I think even more telling as far as the direct impact on our school system and thus the impact on our students' abilities to have the quality educational experience that we want for them is our numbers of quarantined students, or it's been a grand total of 30. Not that we've ever had 30 at one time. And if you look down at the very bottom, everything totals out. And we've had a grand total of 4 adults being quarantined. I account that to, I think we have a very good working relationship with the Finney County Health Department and the measured response, I believe, that is being taken when cases are discovered. And I really do appreciate Colleen Drees and all of her good work in this. We get together every Friday, myself, Steve Carlin from Garden City, a variety of people from there, and Colleen, and we go through the indicators, and then I make a decision as to what level we're at. This particular week, we are now at level 2. That is a celebration as far as I'm concerned. But I don't want to get cocky. Let's keep it there. I don't want to go back up to level 3 or level 4. The problem with all this, it's always lagging indicators. We're using the data from last week or 2 weeks ago because it just takes that long for the data to get to the county health. So, but for the time being, by gum, we'll celebrate that we're at level 2. So I'll continue to update this as we go. And I can't, once again, sing the praises enough of our 2 nurses. They really are the tip of the spear, if you will, on all this, and really have done just a fine job of helping lead us through all this period as we go. And I've said continually, unfortunately, come by November, we're going to be really good at this. And I don't want to be really good at it, but we get the practice. So Jessica and Stacy deserve accolades for all the good hard work that they do for us. So that's it, Mr. Jones.
All right. We will move to buildings. Tom?
Nothing further, everything's on my report.
Any questions for Tom? Okay. We'll move to Lance and grounds.
Nothing further.
Questions? Okay. Sam, transportation?
Actually, yeah.
Make sure you push the green button.
Put a green button on, just speak into it. I don't know if I need to bring up the vans now, but point out, usually I don't ask for permission to hire somebody until we get all the qualifications, but with Mr. Novak and COVID and all that stuff going on, I don't know if it'll be 2 weeks or it might be 6 weeks. And he's retired, so thinks he don't have to stick around. So I do stuff when I can. So that's why I wanted to get permission to hire him when he completes his qualifications. The cars, do you want to talk about that now?
Just give a little preview. It's on the agenda later on.
We, at one of the Longhorn festivals, we beat up Rawls' old pickup, and we never replaced that. And we replaced it at the high school with a Suburban, and that took a student transportation vehicle away. And then the 14-passenger bus hasn't worked out to be the vehicle we thought it was going to be. It's cost us a lot more to have, and I'd just like to replace those with a couple of vans, something we can utilize a little bit better.
And that's on the agenda later on for action.
Yeah.
We'll bring you back to the mic when the time comes.
Thanks, Sam. All right. Food services. Questions? All right. Miss-
I do have a
Okay.
question. Did USDA come out and say that we were having free lunches all the rest of the year?
No, they've put the waiver in place, but the
Place,
funding's
okay.
not there yet.
Yet,
So
okay.
permission is granted, but no cash yet.
Okay.
All the way through September of '21. So the table is set, to use the metaphor. We don't know how to pay for it yet. So I'm hoping it comes through.
Typical government. Okay, we'll move to technology. Mr. Ackerman. Okay. All right, principals. Dina.
As good as it gets. Can you hear it? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay, I would like to let you know that the State Department came out with a Kansas Horizon Award program, and the deadline was last week. And Dr. Myers and I talked about it, and we put together all the information we need to put together to nominate Erica Galliard. It's to recognize a first-year teacher who performs at an exemplary level. So she had to have letters of recognition from different people. I talked to a couple of parents. She had to write a couple of letters, and colleagues. We put the packet together and mailed it last week. So we'll find out in February if she receives that award. It's very well deserving. She's done a fantastic job as a first year on her second year, but it was all about reflection of her first year teaching.
Right.
And also, I just like to recognize the staff. They're doing an excellent job at Wiley Elementary. Like Dr. Myers said, they wear their masks. They have routine in place with everything that we're doing. The kids are doing a great job, and it's going very well because of them. They're in the process right now of getting baseline data. We've benchmark tested to see where our kids at, and I wrote in my report a little bit about that. But they're also collecting baseline data, which is what they do right before conferences, and then they'll compare that baseline data at the next 9 weeks to see the growth in the students. So, okay, any questions?
Thank you. All right, we'll move to Randy.
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to say if you've driven by Holcomb Elementary School, or maybe any of the schools, but you might have seen some kids outside. So we have tried to enjoy this beautiful weather and get outside and get our masks off. We've had lunch outside a couple of times, and the kids really enjoy that. And it's nice for us because they love to have the kids honk that, or the drivers honk as they go by, and that is like the highlight of their day to get cars to honk. So we've really enjoyed that, and kind of happened upon that when we had the gym double booked. We had it booked for lunch, and we had it booked for fire safety presentations. And luckily, one of our teachers reminded me that we had it double booked, so we just put them outside. And so that's been really fun. We're trying to take advantage of the nice weather right now and get the kids outside. So that's been fun. The second thing I want to highlight from my report is the 5th grade jobs that we have gotten started. 5th graders, we're trying to encourage leadership roles in them, and so they've applied for different jobs that Mrs. Gifford and I have talked about. And a couple of those, if you go by and see them pulling weeds, or if you see them brooming wood chips back into the playground, they have applied for that job. They wanted that job, and they also have parent permission to have that job. And so we're pretty excited about what this does just for their leadership skills, being able to know what it's like to apply for a job and do the job well. So very excited for this. And then the second semester, some of the kids that weren't selected for a job the first round will have a chance to do that for the second semester. So pretty excited. We have a variety of jobs, such as our leaders in the morning for our morning roundup. They get on the intercom and do that. We have a recycling crew that helps the high school group that comes down for the recycling. They help gather that up. And we have our flag duty people. We also have kids that deliver mail to the teachers at the end of the day. So really excited about this program. Fun for the 5th graders, and great to see their leadership skills come out.
Thank you. All right, Tyler.
Two things to add to my report. One was just an update on eMints. We're in the second year of that federal grant. The 7th and 8th grade core teachers have been putting together plans for that. This second year they have to do a project with the kids, and they're going to make some hand sanitizer stations during homeroom time. So we'll have those that be homemade sanitizer stations in the building, so those will be cool to see what designs they come up with on those. And then the second thing I forgot to mention is at the November board meeting, we will have Teen Cuisine here presenting you dinner. They're getting ready to start their smoked meats unit, so I imagine pulled pork or brisket, something along that line. So please do come hungry. They're doing a great job. Thank you.
I like brisket. Thanks. Jason?
I just want to add to my report for the remote learning, put some statistics in there from Miss Bobby Smith. And after we concluded our talk and I submitted my report, she said, oh, here's a few more things you may want to add. So I just want to add those pieces. She meets with the students one-on-one weekly, and then on Fridays she sends out an attendance report to the students and the parents, and they can see exactly the date, time, and how long the student worked on a subject in any given day. So the parents are getting a report of how many minutes daily the students are working on their lessons. And then she's encouraging them to sit down and have the students log into the program and talk to them one-on-one between the parent and the student about what is happening with those classes. So with our 95% attendance rate, we feel like we are on a pretty good footing for how the remote learning is going at the high school this year. And then secondly, if you haven't got a chance yet, if you go to the school website, I posted a picture to the live feed before the board meeting tonight, and I also have it out on Twitter and Facebook. But one of our Fail Forward grants was to get a video drone or a video capable drone. And so it came in today. So what a better way to test it at the JV football game. So we took it out and got it up there 60, 75 feet in the air, which made me a little nervous, but it has an auto stabilizing system. So the wind wasn't messing with it. Took a great picture of the JV football game and got it out there for you to see. So if you go to the school website, you'll be able to see it, or the Holcomb High School Facebook page, or anything on Twitter. We've got it out there for you too to be able to take a look at. So again, Mrs. Sullivan and her Holcomb Media Tech, thanks you guys for the Fail Forward grants, because that's been a very great experience for our kids so far this year.
All right. Thanks, Jason. All right, you've got the rec minutes and the service center minutes. High Plains.
They did not have a quorum last time, so there was no meeting, so there are no minutes. But there is one Thursday night, Mr. Schreibvogel.
I'll be there.
I will
No
too.
volleyball.
We'll zoom in.
No volleyball this week.
Is it a Zoom?
I'll zoom it, yeah.
Okay.
They're having a meal though.
On
Oh, really?
Zoom? You get to watch them
No,
eat?
you can attend and have the meal,
Oh.
or you can cook your own meal.
Yeah,
They won't DoorDash it to you.
You think they drop ship it to us or something?
something.
Uber.
All right, let's move to unfinished business and new teachers at Wiley Elementary and Holcomb Elementary.
This is a continuation from last month, where we gave you opportunity to introduce to you the teachers new to us. And so we do have a few who will not be here tonight because they're in modified quarantine. They're still teaching. It's just they have to go straight home from school and they can't go anywhere else. So I didn't think it was right for them to hang around an extra 4 hours or 3 hours just to be introduced. We'll bring them in next month. But we'll start with Wiley. What? Yes. Talk in that.
Okay. First, I'd like to introduce Megan Jenkins. She is student teaching right now, and we brought on Martha Simmons from retirement, and she's learning from Martha. She's learning a lot. She's doing a fantastic job. She has passed all her tests. She went to New Mexico.
Eastern New Mexico and Portales.
Okay, Eastern New Mexico, and she passed all her tests. All she has to do is complete her student teaching. She's doing a great job. 2nd grade. And then we have Carrie Van Pelt. She's doing our Parents as Teachers program, and she's also doing a very good job. She's going to speak next month about the different things that she's done in the program since she started. But they're both doing very well. I only have 2 this year, so that makes me happy.
Okay. Oh, jeez. Okay, at Holcomb Elementary, we have Emma Wagger, and she came to us from Bethany College, and this is her first year teaching. She's teaching 3rd grade, doing a great job, learning a lot, getting started in her career. So we are happy to have her here from New York, right? Yep. Okay. And then second, we have Kona Erbo. She is our district librarian. She is doing a wonderful job working in all 4 libraries and figuring out how to split her time between 4 different places. Also, she is working with 3 paras who are helping her out with that. Doing a great job making each of the libraries her own. Comes to us from Kansas City, and we are happy to have her here.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Thank you. So I didn't want to leave here without teaching you one thing. So our district number is 363, right? So in the Dewey Decimal System, 363, you will find books about censorship. Hopefully that's something you'll never forget. 363, censorship.
Thank you, Ms. Erbo.
All right, and then I have 3 teachers that will hopefully be here in November.
All right, thanks.
Welcome.
Thanks for coming, guys. You're going to stay for the rest of the meeting, right?
Nope.
We're just getting to the good stuff.
As an experienced teacher.
Didn't even think about that.
Thank you. All right, we will move to the FlexMod schedule update.
Okay, as the case is with any initiative or program that gets going, we always go through a continual process of reflection and looking how can we make it even better than it has been. Or anytime we start something, in my opinion, there's a thing called the implementation dip, and it's after the excitement of everything's worn off. Then we start to see, well, what do we need to do to make this better or make it work even better than it has been. So Jason's here to talk to you about some of the adjustments that have been going on and just engage in a conversation about the FlexMod and where we are with it at this point.
Thank you. Just wanted to point out some major changes that we put in place for this year. It was last year at this time, or maybe the November board meeting, when we revisited it early in the semester last year, and I think I told you at that point in time, if I graded myself or graded us on it, we were at about a C+ last year. There was some hiccups to it. There were some things we were trying to work on the fly and do some things to it. I think by the end of the year, we were up into that B- kind of range. Based on some of the changes that we've made this year, so far with 3 weeks of it, I'd definitely grade us at a high B+ or a low A-. There are still some things we're going to kind of work on to clean up a little bit. But for the most part, some of the issues that we faced last year, we've got fixed. We did that through 3 major changes. One of the first major changes is that we made English and math for freshman level classes, so Math 1 and English 1, are meeting on both days. So that takes away a little bit of the PLT time that maybe some of the freshmen had last year. That was one thing that we did note, that there was times where we felt like maybe our freshmen just had a little bit too much PLT time and weren't quite ready to handle it. So by doing that major change and then adding all of our freshman level classes, geography, world history, world history, geography, biology, all went to 80-minute blocks instead of 60-minute blocks for this year. So that has really limited the amount of PLT time that freshmen have. On average, freshmen are having about 40 to 60 minutes each day. Not all chunked together, but some people may. I can't have a certainty. I can't say all students because that would be a fallacy, but a good 90% of our students have about a 40-minute block at one point in time and then a 20-minute block later in the day. The second major thing we did is we added another layer to our PLT options. So this year we have 3 PLT options. There's what's called the lounge, PLT or flex room, and then a focus room. This last week was our first round with our focus room. So at this point in time, we have all 3 layers activated. In the lounge, those are students that qualified based on their grades, behavior, and attendance from the previous semester, which we went back to last year. We had 59 students that qualified for the lounge out of 275, which I feel like that's a pretty good number. And on any given day, we have any given block of time, we have about 18 to 19 students in the lounge. which if you remember right, we converted the old computer lab clear on the north end of the building to our lounge. We have 4 TVs in there. We've got a couple Xboxes. We've got some lounge chairs, some couches, and then some workstations. And then actually the class of 2020 donated with some money they had left over due to not having a prom or having some money left over. They donated a pop shot, a little basketball shooting game that they bought and donated to put in there. In our flex room, so we wanted to have our flex room, which is our middle level category, have a little bit more teeth in terms of expectations for students while they're in there. The expectation for the students while they're in their flex room is that they can have their phones, they can be listening to music, but the expectation is that they are to be working on something of classwork. And if they can prove through Edgenuity or through their Google Classroom that they have all their work turned in, then they can just be on their phone and enjoying some time with their colleagues or their friends during that time. But there is no sleeping, there is no just laying around. They're to be, sitting up, they're to be working, they're to be doing something, maybe productive, maybe not. We're still in the flex room giving the students the choice if they can prove that they're not behind in any class. And then finally, our focus room is the area where there's the most restrictions, and that's for students that have been nominated by a teacher that are not meeting the academic expectations of the classroom. Due to using Edgenuity and having students go into quarantine, come out of quarantine, be sick for a couple days, and then come back, we are not using a standard 60% grade as we had in the past for some of our focus room or eligibility. So teachers are nominating students based on their progress in the class. And that list goes to Miss Bobby Smith is monitoring those students during the day on our flex days, and they have to be working on that class they've been nominated for. Those students in focus room they do not get their phone, they do not get headphones, and they do not get food or drink during that time. So there's those 3 levels. So we've added that different piece into it to help us utilize the time that the students have for professional learning or personal learning to ensure that they're working on that. And then the third and final change that we made, and just like with any technical thing that you add in, there are some bugs. So we are working through those bugs currently, is what we're calling our clock in, clock out system. So each room that the students go to, there is a scan gun, and all students must have their ID on them at all times. And they come into a room, they scan themselves into a room, and then when they leave, they scan themselves out. So at any one point in time, we know exactly where each student is. The hiccup that we're having right now is sometimes it doesn't scan them fast enough, and if someone comes in right behind them, then it's kind of like when you used to cheat into someone's apartment complex and you come in right behind them after they've opened the door. So there's some of those bugs that we're kind of still working on in the scan in, scan out system, but it gives us a good attendance tracking for that day to ensure that students are going to class. And then the only final thing that we've really worked very diligently on is trying to communicate our why. So last Friday, I sent out an email to our staff asking them what they thought from the teacher's perspective was their why for flex mod scheduling, and the student's perspective. And 11 of the 12 responses came back very positively with their answers, understanding that time management is one of our key perspectives for students and what we're trying to do with flex mod scheduling. And then from a teacher perspective is to build in a little bit more project-based, or project-based is great when you don't have COVID and you can have a bunch of kids working on projects in classrooms. So that's kind of the why, but we're just limited on what we can do with some of those things. Then last week, in preparing for this, I grabbed 25 students, and 18 of the 25 were freshmen because they're experiencing this new than ever before. And in communicating with them, almost 75% of those students, 100% of the students prefer flex mod to traditional days. But 75% of those students would prefer to have a blended, some flex and some traditional, not all flex days. I thought that was a pretty telling sign from freshmen very early on into it. About 9 of the 25 students that I talked to said they used their PLT time for homework. And there was 2 young men that I talked to them at lunch, and I did not believe them. So about 30 or 40 minutes later, when I knew they were in flex time, I went into the flex room, and they were using it for Edgenuity. So I had to go up and apologize to him and said, I was going to come in and try to catch you guys not working on Edgenuity, but you were. About 8 or 9 of the kids said that they use it about the first 20 minutes of their flex time. They just sit and relax, and then they get to work. And then about 8 or 9 of them say they choose to do their homework at home so they can be with their friends during that time. So it breaks down to about a third, a third, a third. So that's kind of my report, and I'll take any questions that you have.
Jason, this is Ryan. It's Ryan Vogel. Are your teachers really getting involved and getting on board with this a little bit more than last year?
I guess I'm not, I understand the question, but I believe that we were at about 67, 70% last year from the teachers on the survey that felt like FlexMod was beneficial. And I would say that that number has only grown this year. If 11 out of the 12 responses that I got from teachers, again, we have 23 teachers, so I didn't get everybody to respond, but 11 out of 12 came back with feeling like they understood why we were doing it and felt supportive of why we were doing it. I think the negatives in there came back to kids still aren't doing what we want them to do, but they aren't doing it in the traditional days either. I mean, we're still having some issues with kids sleeping during traditional days, not doing their work on traditional days. Those are things we have to work on holistically on all days, not just FlexMod days. So my perception would be that we have a key component of our staff is very much on board with understanding this. I do have heard from a few staff members that they like the change up in the middle of the week themselves too, because doing 5 days of the same thing can become monotonous. And so doing 2 of something, and then 1 of something, they do feel like is good for them to change some things up periodically.
It's good to hear. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jason. And we will now move to the KISA Year 4 OVT visit and Year 5 plans.
Okay, as you well know, we're talking about accreditation. And just real fast, go back to it. It used to be a yearly situation at the building level. Each building was separate. Several years back, it went to a 5-year cycle, and it's an entire district situation. We are in our first cycle of living through the new accreditation system in the state of Kansas, okay? We just finished Year 4, headed into Year 5. Due to everything that happened in the spring, we had our report finished. We were good to go. It was well done. Teachers, administrators, and the principals did a great job on that. But we pushed the meeting back. So we had the meeting. It was a Zoom meeting with our 3 OVT members. It was sometime September 24th, I think it was, or 26th, one of those 2. And we don't have the report back from them yet, but verbally they were very pleased with everything that we're doing, that we're working on. Through the building leadership teams and through the SIC involvement at School Improvement Council, we have, our focus in the district is on relationships and relevance, and there's a variety of initiatives taking place at the different levels so as to build our relationships, make them thick, deeper and richer. The metaphor I always use is we should know the kid's middle name and just get to know each other that well. And by knowing them that much better, then we know what their learning styles are, what are their interests, everybody has a different aptitude. We get to know that way. Then also when we call them up, if we have something going on with the parents or whatever, it's not that mean whatever, XYZ person making that phone call, it's a friend of ours who's calling to say, hey, let's work on whatever it might be with our kids. So relationships are taking place with lots of good work. And then also relevance. Relevance to me is playing to people's passions and getting people to be intrinsically motivated. They want to go and do whatever it is because they just want to go do whatever it is. And I think the challenge is, it's been there forever, is if we could just tap into every single one of our students' passions, this thing just takes off. It just does. So how do you do that? Well, we've got to know the kids that much more, know them that much deeper. So there's a great work, K-12, on our individual plans of study. Because a piece of that, it's not just about what's it take to graduate. Yes, that's a piece of it. But it's much more about, well, what do you really think you might want to do later on in life? And so toward that, and then wrapping around so that we can involve the kids in the different activities that might lead us that way. So those are the big grandiose umbrella issues. Then the 5 outcomes, the State Board of Education outcomes, on which they will hold us accountable, our kindergarten readiness, and under Dina's leadership, we've really expanded our early childhood, so I think we're aces there. The social emotional, locally measured, created measures. We had the trauma team 2 years ago. We put together our trauma handbook and addressing that. And once again, that's one of the reasons I brought up the counselors earlier. They are laser focused on this. I don't think we have our data right yet, but you can see we're doing the right stuff, just don't know what to count yet. And I'll get to that in just a moment. The IPOS with a career focus, already mentioned that a little bit, graduation rate, and then also post-secondary success. The idea being 2 years out of high school, what are the kids doing? Did they show up for the second year of college? Did they earn a industry recognized certificate? I mean, what's going on within that? And those are the 5 state board outcomes. As far as when it comes down to year 5, headed forward, I'll get the report back from the OVT. And what's supposed to occur is they will then say to us, here's some things for you to look at. You might want to work on this. And then given the special way it is this year, we could choose to push this off to next year to go to our accreditation visit. I personally am ready to, I think we're in a good spot. I think we should be able to move forward with what we're doing and have our accreditation visit in March. The OVT will give us recommendation on that. So let's say all that goes smoothly, then we'll have the grandiose visit and present our 5 years worth of good work around these areas. Say, here's where we're sitting today, here's where we want to go yet in the future. And then they take that information, they write up a report, and they provide it to the Accreditation Review Committee, the ARC. It's the ARC that actually makes the recommendation to the state board as to whether or not we should receive accreditation. I looked at the state board agenda for the next couple days. It's Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and they are determining accreditation of different districts right now. You know, they happen to be where they are in their cycle. And there's one that they're actually putting forward with conditional accreditation. So it's not just like picking cherries. You have to do the work. There's 3 or 4, I think there's 4 districts going up for full accreditation. I don't see any reason in the world why we would not be there ourselves. But so what we're doing this year is we're continuing on with our initiatives, we're gathering our data, and then we'll need to write the final report. All that being equal, and I'm aggressive, I want to move forward, I'm highly cognizant of the stressors that are taking place this year. That said, I truly believe in 2 things in times of crisis. Slow down, take your time, and keep things as normal as possible. Well, as normal as possible in this regard is keeping going on our system. So I will be working with the OVT, though, and saying, we're planning on going forward. But if all of a sudden come February, something's really going awry, we might play that card to delay. So I'm looking to move forward and get our accreditation cycle finished so we can start a new one and really focus a little bit different things perhaps. But we could always pull back and say, oh, wait, we're not quite ready. So we have that get out of jail free card, if you will. So that's my report on accreditation. And we have a ringer now because Jason's on the advisory committee. So no, it's not. That's not the ARC.
All right, let's move to new business and technology purchase.
Mr. Ackerman? Oh, come on in. Okay, this is the technology purchase that we are presenting to you, seeking permission to purchase 360 Lenovo Chromebook Flex 5 units. This would be 100% paid for through the Spark funds, which they've awarded it to us as far as, we've got the award letter, we just don't have the check itself. Randy was, just been obviously pivotal in this. And the way the timing is this has worked out, we've grown the actual purchase from 300, it was originally 350, to 360. And getting for still what we submitted under Spark. Randy, anything you want to add?
Just that with the opportunity of using the Spark funds, we were going to replace high school Chromebooks anyway this summer. And as you all know, everything you try to get online, anything technology related, but almost anything online, is delayed. So we weren't going to get the devices during the summertime anyway. And they actually weren't available because they're fairly new devices. So as soon as they became available, it was just shortly after that we realized that the Spark funding might be able to allow for covering on that. And it actually worked out to be very good timing that the delay I was so disappointed in ended up working really well for the district. So we've got some nice Chromebooks. We're probably getting a little bit more expensive Chromebooks than we typically would come back to. I would normally try to come back with a little less of a request for the board, but because of this, able to get some devices we feel like would really help benefit the students if we do go to a remote access or remote learning situation. These devices would really excel in that.
And I'm sure if you want him to, he can give you all sorts of technical information. He always tries to give it to me, and I'm no.
Yeah, I won't go into these are nicer than what you guys have. We actually decided, because we had the ability to kind of get some nicer ones, we expanded into getting touchscreen ones at the high school. I wouldn't necessarily usually always get those, but with the funds available, we did. So it will provide another learning opportunity, another learning avenue for those students who would enjoy a touchscreen type of device.
Brandon, you might have said this. How long do Chromebooks normally last before
We try to rotate them every 4 years, but we've stretched them to 5 lately, and these are on the 5th year right now at the high school. They've really have performed better than we thought they would. They last longer. The updates keep them faster, and so they've really done really well.
And not that this is the focus of this particular piece of the agenda, but the other 4 things that the Spark money, round 1 purchase for the district was Edgenuity. That's that online program we talk about. These devices we're using in the building here to broadcast our board meetings. The water bottle filling stations that are in the different buildings. And then also we upgraded the tech lab where Julie Nemechek is the technology integration specialist, holds professional learning opportunities once again, given the fact that I do believe we'll be rolling in and out of remote. So we're continually trying to help our teachers get even better and better at that. So those 5 purchases, which came up to about $249,000, comes to us via the grant. So I would recommend that the board purchase the 360 Lenovo Chromebook Flex 5 units.
Remind me just on these, as far as the insurance plans that students have the options for, those come through the enrollment process here then, correct? The insurance?
They do. This year we decided to be kind of self-funding. We did not have new devices to promote to the students. So considering the financial situation for everybody, we decided to just not do an outside insurance agent. We did encourage all students at enrollment to take the insurance out if they were taking a device home. So that would be everybody 3rd grade through 12th. Mm-hmm. And now with these new devices come in, we are going to doubly promote with anybody who hasn't, because we're talking about a $25 insurance coverage for your device. And with the touch screens, that's typically the screens are what's damaged the most, and the touch screens will be considerably more expensive. And if they don't have the insurance coverage, it would be out of pocket for the student or parent. So we're really going to promote that $25. It's not going to come near close to the coverage of a touchscreen, but like any kind of insurance program, we're hoping to be able to come out in the balance ahead at the end of the year.
That was my question.
And then I'm fairly certain next year we'll either have to increase that amount or we'll go back to an insurance-funded situation again.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, whether the deductible was going to be changing or whether we were going to have to reevaluate that.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. For sure next year we would either have to increase that amount, or if we can get another vendor to come in. The vendor we had last year came back with a considerably higher rate than we had last year, and that wasn't even on these slightly more expensive Chromebooks. They were more replacement value of what we had this year. So I know they would have been a lot higher than that on these devices. So Dr. Myers and I in discussion, we just kind of came to the conclusion is if we could get through this year doing the self-funding and not really fall deep into the red, it'd be best for the district and for students as a whole.
All right, Sean, so there you go. There's your homework. Yeah, sure. Make sure we keep our prices the same for next year.
Randy, how soon will these Chromebooks be here?
I'm sorry?
How soon will the Chromebooks be here?
they're not even deliverable yet. I mean, they're that, partly because of COVID, partly because of COVID, but also partly because these are brand-new devices, and everything they manufacture is depending on every device that they get to them, and all of those behind too. So I don't even have a delivery date yet, but the order has been processed. So, or it's waiting to be processed, I guess I should say.
Randy, you may not have this answered, but has there been any destroyed Chromebooks as of the first 3-4 weeks of school that we've had to eat, basically?
Nothing at all atypical of what we would have every year. If we have any issues at all, it's in the middle school because they're not used to taking the Chromebooks home at 6th and 7th grade level. And Tyler would be able to attest to this, that we have a lot of students who, not a lot, we have some students who either forget a Chromebook or they don't charge it at night. And so we have issues where we have to get them a loaner, and eventually we'll have to cut them back on the grace that we'll allow them, but we don't want them to go to a classroom without a device either. But no, I wouldn't say we have any more than a normal year. And again, that's a pretty good kudo to our students, because we're talking about 7th through 3rd grade now are taking them home, and they didn't do that in the past. It was just 8th grade and above would take them home, and we really have had good luck with all of those. So I apologize. I take that back. Randy, we don't. HES doesn't take them home. Yeah.
If we need them, we send them home.
Yeah.
But not
Yeah, HES doesn't take them home, so it is just 6th and 7th grade that now this year are taking them home.
I'd recommend that the board approve the purchase of 360 Lenovo Chromebook Flex 5s with the overall price of $182,642.40.
I second that. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the purchase of the Chromebooks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Now we get to move on to the ever enthralling insurance, property insurance.
Yes, it is, ever enthralling. And Mr. Myers is here to walk us through this. I will, as you well know, we are, after several years of very slight increases, we're having an 18.6% increase this year, and I'm sure Sean will go through the details for you on that. It equates out to $22,598 over what we had last year for our property insurance. Also, though, as a piece of this, you'll find that we are also wanting to move forward again with the cyber insurance. So the ultimate thing on which to take action will be the overall insurance policy, including the cyber insurance. John?
Okay. I appreciate you guys having me here today. Just let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room, which is the significant increase in premium. Most of this increase is coming specifically from the property rate. $68,498,817 is our current blanket limit for property. That's how much property we are insuring for USD 363. This is now my 12th conversation with the board or superintendent. This is the 12th increase that I am delivering as of 5/25 of this year. And EMC has taken this position because, quite frankly, they have operated in the red with this school program for many, many years. This is actually a dividend program, much like their city and county program, of which they do give dividends back. They have not been able to give a dividend back to a school or any of the schools in over 20 years. And that is because there have just been so many significant losses due to wind and hail that have resulted in significant claims. 2 totaled out schools last year in the state of Kansas on EMC's book really puts a crimp in what they're able to do. So as a result, they want to remain viable as a provider of insurance for Kansas schools. Because as of right now, you have one other choice. And that choice is, quite frankly, is come and gone. WRM came in with KASB. They were a Northeastern insurance writer who wanted to play in Kansas. They went out, they bought a bunch of insurance at very low property rates, and it bit them. And so they decided, you know what, we're out. and they left the only agent that they had selling the particular product, which was Conradi out of Newton, with nothing really at the 11th hour. And so the Gallagher pool has stepped in and allowed 3 agencies, with KASB, has allowed 3 agencies to procure and sell the Gallagher pool program. We were approached with the Gallagher pool about 4 years ago, and we chose not to do that because we just didn't feel comfortable with the pool. Pools have failed in many other states at the public school level, and so we just decided that we were not going to be a part of that. It wasn't regulated by the State Insurance Commission. There was just a lot of other things. So with that said, EMC, to remain viable, to remain in a position to continue to provide insurance for school districts in Kansas, has decided that in 2020, and this was all before COVID, they made this decision, that they would increase the property rates across the board. Okay? And so you'll see that reflected here. We also increased the building limit value, or the blanket limit value, a little over $2 million. That was based on a recent inspection where they came out, measured square footage, looked at the building materials. And I got to tell you guys, the cost of building materials, as some of you probably know, has gone up significantly just in the last several months. And go buy a 2x4 and you'll know that it's probably twice what it used to be. So having an increased blanket limit is important. Having the right insured values is important. Unfortunately, $68 million in insured property, turns into a pretty big number. Okay. They also did increase the deductibles as well. And so we're having a $10,000 flat deductible and a $25,000 wind hail deductible. All the schools that I've met with up to this point, have had to accept that particular deductible. Some of them with much smaller blankets, 12, 14 million. I think $25,000 on a wind hail still is a per occurrence deductible, meaning that if all 4 schools will hit, you're only paying one $25,000 deductible. $25,000 based on $68 million in insured value is probably an appropriate deductible. I get it; it's a high deductible, but it's probably appropriate given the amount of insured value that we have. So, are there any questions about that in terms of the rates?
Yeah, I think just a couple that I had there. One with this new model that they have on making the adjustments. I mean, ideas as far as how many years we can be expecting to see that those adjustments are going to be.
So they've decided to take this, a great question. They've decided to take this on a year-by-year basis. Mm-hmm. They want to see how this performs this year with these rates. And up to this point, I think it's done fairly well. We haven't had quite the significant losses that we've had in the state of Kansas. We've had 2019. They're hoping that they only need to do this once. I mean, obviously there's slight increases that occur year to year. But I think this year they really wanted to go ahead and just do it all in one fell shot rather than try to, bleed it over 3 or 4 years and get it done. So my hope is that when I'm here next year, that it's a pretty flat renewal.
We're gonna hold you to that.
Yeah, you've heard it here. I do also want to share with you too that we go to bat for the district tonight, and I told Dr. Myers this and we negotiate our commission and take reductions when necessary. And I think it's an important part of being a good steward of the district's money as a community member. And we did that again this year to make sure that the increase wasn't more significant than it was. So,
is there a couple other questions there?
Sure.
Then one, and maybe just looking at it there from the standpoint that I'm familiar with there at the college. I mean, is there a way to anticipate or know what the estimates or the increases are going to be earlier in the year? So when it comes to the budgeting process, we have a way to project that versus waiting until after the fiscal year started.
Yeah, unfortunately, with this renewal, it's odd because it's a November renewal. And I like the question because it's worth maybe having that discussion because most of the schools are a 7-1 renewal. And so that fits better into how you guys operate. So the answer is no to being able to figure it out earlier because there's too many things that could happen that they would have to figure out in the 11th hour. But there could be a question to EMC. It says, what if we decided to do something where we short rated this year and moved the renewal to a 7-1 versus an 11-1? And if you guys are interested in that, what I think we ought to do is just have the conversation with EMC, because if it fits better into the budget for you guys, I want to ask that question. So,
Well, I mean, that's probably more for you or Mike there. I mean, I'm looking at it from my aspect of what I'm familiar with,
Sure.
but I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, that's a good idea. We'll talk, Sean.
okay. I did want to, if there are no other questions, I did want to try to talk about some of the things that we're doing to add value, because we just don't want to come in here and give you the premium numbers and walk away. And I'm gonna leave these items with Robin so that you guys can take these. I've just provided you with 3 documents from a group that we're working with now called Think HR, and we are paying for this. This is a no charge to our insured's product. But Think HR is an organization that centers their activities around helping train anything HR related for any kind of organization, whether it be a school district or a large general contractor. And so they have a ton of tools online and available for assistance with via phone consultations. They've got training courses on 10-hour OSHA training to leadership training courses to IT training courses, and it's an online course catalog. It's very interactive. The other thing that's kind of cool is that they will give you a living, breathing online employee handbook. And so you guys they can work to develop the HR employee handbook, keep it online. You can give it to new employees. It will have digital signatures where they sign off on everything. And then what's cool about it too is that any state law or federal law that changes and needs to be changed inside of that living handbook will change automatically, so that living, breathing document is always in compliance with both federal and state law. And so we've signed up Robin, and she's received probably her email where she's going to get to have access, and then there will be other people who can have access to this. Sam, Tom, Lance, everybody, janitorial staff, will be able to have access to the tools that could hopefully help make work more efficient, more safe. And then as it came to COVID, there was a ton of information that they provided on updates for COVID. And so I think you're going to find the resource to be extremely beneficial to the district as a whole. That's my hope. There are customers, clients that we have that have used it through COVID, and we've just started this in February. And it's been a tremendous resource for them in dealing with it. Some of these are larger contractors and businesses with 100 employees or more, and it's worked out extremely well and given them an opportunity to have a resource to go to. So anyway, I'm going to leave that with you guys so that you can look at. There's a ton of material that we have as a part of this, but I just got some of the highlights for you guys to take a look at, and I'll leave that with you. There's nothing really new to go over in the policy. I mean, pretty much everything is the same. All of the updates have been done for the bond issue. All the values have been adjusted. Lance and I on the phone went through and got rid of some old equipment that, had maybe, been gone, a weed whacker or lawnmower here and there. And so we've got things up to date and in really good shape. So I'll entertain any other questions.
Could you give us, you'd mentioned this here earlier there, but one of the changes there, maybe just a brief high-level overview on what the dividend program looks like?
Yeah, so I can speak to at the city level, which we see it more often than the county level. The city level, basically you're taking the premiums and you're looking at it through all the Kansas municipalities. So it'd be all Kansas school districts that are insured in the EMC program. All the premiums collected minus the losses paid out. What's the profit? And those premiums and the cost would include the operating cost for EMC, the underwriting cost, the commission to the agencies, everything. Minus those claims, and whatever is left over at that point is then given back at a percentage of your total premium. So last year, our cities received a 20% dividend. They received 20% of their premium back in a dividend. Now, here's the thing about the city program. There's a lot less property. There's a lot less roof for most cities. But I think if this program and their objective is to get it profitable so that they can pay a dividend, they want to pay a dividend. If it's 5%, hey, it's 5%. I mean, at least it's something back, to you guys at the local level. And so that's how it operate. And they would decide on a percentage based on their total leftover.
Is there any amendment or change there to the motion that would need to happen there to go to exploring the 7-1?
No.
Okay.
Just you might want to put into the motion that Sean guarantees a 20% kickback.
I like that.
Let's not do that. This is broadcast, isn't it?
Yes,
We got to be careful. We got to be really
5%.
careful.
No, there's no need to amend it. We'll just talk and
Okay.
see what we can do.
All right. Well, I appreciate your work there on the commission side of it there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'd recommend that we approve the district's property insurance effective November 1, 2020 with EMC in the amount of $147,854 to include cyber insurance.
I'll second that. Casey.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the property insurance effective November 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, we will move to van purchases.
Alrighty, we had a little preview of this earlier. Step to the mic, Mr. Mesa. It just is good business practice to rotate your stock and keep our vehicles fresh, if you will. So, as Sam alluded to earlier, at some point in time in the past, the short yellow bus was brought on, and I guess it's just, been somewhat of a lemon, throwing good money after bad. So the idea of bringing back 2 passenger vans instead, not only besides the fact we'll quit having to fix something that keeps breaking, it makes it far more flexible because no CDL is required to drive these versus the short yellow bus. So Sam went through the bidding process, sent out bid sheets or invitation to a local dealer, state dealer, and then the purchasing co-op that we had used for our LED purchases. So, and the information we have back now is, or the bids that we received. We did not receive anything from a local dealer. So, Sam, if you want to fill in on the thinking behind the vans versus the bus and whatever else you'd like to share.
Well, everybody I've talked to seems pretty excited about the smaller buses. They're going to be similar to driving Suburbans, and I think some of our volleyball coaches, basketball coaches, I think they'll be more apt to drive that than the small bus.
We don't pull anything with these vans there then at all, do we? Trailers?
No, you
or
can't.
Right. Good.
The only thing they pull is a horse trailer. They usually use a 3/4 ton Suburban.
How many passengers?
10 total.
10 total. Would have worked good in Colby Saturday.
It would have worked good several times in the past.
Maybe even the music concert?
Yeah.
Huh.
So, well, any other questions? So I would recommend the purchase of 2 of these vans from the best bid, which happens to come to us from Eck Motors.
Rusty Eck.
Rusty Eck, I'm sorry.
They are the ones that usually get the state bids, and for some reason, state dropped the ball and didn't have a bid sheet out for the vans this year. So that's why we had to go through the bid process. Otherwise, we could have went with the state contract.
And we tried to go through the purchasing co-op, and just shockingly,
So actually,
came in
that,
high.
I don't know. That would have been interesting because that's a 10-hour trip.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think we should get one wrapped too, like the activity bus.
That'll be next month's meeting.
Get that orange bowl, the original one you had.
Jason's already got ideas. As soon as we get those in, I'll put the yellow bus, with your permission, put the yellow bus out to bid.
Yeah, that little bus probably isn't even 10 years old, is it?
In one of the memos, I can't remember the amount of mileage we put on it, but it was minimal for the last.
Because I kind of remember getting it like when I was first on the board, and we were thinking it was be pretty cool.
Yeah, it started out good and fell off real quick.
Well, sometimes the wheels just fall off.
Well, a lot of people started using them, and the state started saying they noticed that people were using them, and I don't know what the problems were, but then they kind of went through their rules and regulations, said, okay, you don't have to have a CDL to drive them, but if you use it for practice or any kind of repetitive use, it's considered a route, and you have to be on this drug pool, and you have to take CPR and first aid, and you have to have defensive driving, so you might as well use somebody with a CDL.
Kind of like farm diesel back in the day.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, I recommend the board approve the purchase of 2 10-passenger vans from the best bid provider to the district.
Second it.
Okay, Jill? Been moved and seconded to purchase 2 of the 10-passenger vans from the best bid provided.
Could we have a friendly amendment to mention Rusty Act?
Yeah.
Please.
From Rusty Eck Ford in Wichita, Kansas.
All right. Moved and seconded to approve the purchase of 2 10-passenger vans from Rusty Eck in Wichita. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Now we will appoint a voting delegate at the KASB annual meeting.
Would you like to do D before you do E?
Dispose.
Oh, did I skip one? Oh, let's dispose of some district property first.
Hey, okay. Twice a year, we bring forward a list of items that are no longer in use. And so in order, though, as a school, we can't sell or get rid of anything without the board taking action on it, if it's real property or items. So we have a laundry list. There's 3 items from the high school and a whole bunch from the Holcomb Elementary. Not that that means they really came from Holcomb Elementary. They just get put in Holcomb Elementary. Right, Randy? That's what you would say. But anyway, it takes board approval to dispose of these materials. Our process is, if and or when the board says yes to that, we put it out to the district and the employees of the district say, anybody want to use this in your classroom or in doing your job? That's the first step. And then the next one, we go to the various clubs and organizations, say, anybody want to sell some of this stuff? Like the banners from the gym. Those will be a nice fundraiser, I'm sure. After that's finished, it just goes to the dump. So I would recommend that motion is made to dispose of the items presented.
Matt, this is Jill. I move that we dispose of the equipment as presented.
Second.
Ryan Schreibvogel. Okay. It's moved and seconded to dispose of district property as it presents itself. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Now we will appoint a voting delegate at the KASB annual meeting.
There you go. This is going to be done virtually this year. So every year, a member of the board is anointed as the voting delegate, with the remaining members of the board as seconds, as alternates, if you will. So the meeting is December 2nd through the 4th. The delegate assembly is within that time period. I think it's the 3rd, I'm not sure, but it's within that time period. But it'll be done from right here in Holcomb, Kansas. Won't be driving across the state to attend. We can go to a local eatery if you want.
Yeah.
Last year,
This is Curtis. I'll nominate Matt Jones.
I'd say last year Matt Jones represented. So
I'll second that.
Curtis and Ryan Ruda. Been moved and seconded to appoint Matt Jones as the voting delegate for the KASB annual convention. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Let's move to donations.
yeah, we have a series of donations coming to the district. Once again, we're blessed to have such a supportive community, greater educational community. Strawbridge is our school photography group. They're making a donation of $250. United Healthcare is donating $500. Both of those two donations, I would personally use them to restock the food pantry. Linda had written for and received a Feeding Kansas Kids grant for $8,200 and $205 rather, to buy equipment for particularly in the increased use of the kitchens for the free meals for everybody, which is wonderful. And then the final one is, it came to us as an addition. I had written or responded to a survey earlier in the year about COVID expenses to the Patterson Family Foundation. It's a foundation out of Kansas City, Missouri, specifically for rural communities and schools and hospitals and whatnot. And we received notification that we get if we accept it, a $9,520 grant. They call it a micro grant for COVID expenses. So, and I believe we sent information out to you about that. So I would recommend you accept all those different donations.
I'll make a motion to accept all the donations.
Casey
Second it.
and Jill. Moved and seconded to accept all the gifts, board gifts as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Executive session.
15.
15?
Do you want more?
Well, Curtis has had one monster, so let's see. What if we go in, let's say, go into executive session for 15 minutes starting at 8:25 to include Dr. Myers. Anyone else?
Nope.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Jill and Ryan Shrivogel. Moved and seconded to go into executive session for 15 minutes starting at 8:25. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Yes, I did. Was awesome.
Do you care if I flip it off?
All right, we're back in session. Jeez. All right, I need a motion to hire Bernadette Garcia as a full-time cook.
So moved. Second.
Jill and Curtis. Moved and seconded to hire Bernadette Garcia as a full-time cook. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I need a motion to move Maria Lara, full-time cook, to kitchen manager at Holcomb Elementary School, and this will adjust her hourly wage from $1.25 to $12.20 an hour.
I don't think she was making $1.25.
Okay. We're going to adjust her hourly wage from $11.25 to $12.20. That is a 90 cent increase.
So moved.
Second.
Ryan and Curtis. Moved and seconded to move Maria to kitchen manager at Holcomb Elementary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did I really say $1.25? Gee, many Christmas. I even got my reading glasses on. All right, I need a motion to hire Coach Dave Novak as a route driver and a substitute driver pending the completion of requirements.
So moved.
Curtis.
Second.
Ryan Ruda. Moved and seconded to hire Coach Novak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Coach Dave Novak. I always knew him as Coach, but all right. I need a motion to approve the supplementals as presented.
So moved.
Ryan Ruda,
Second.
Ryan Shrivogel. Moved and seconded to approve the supplementals. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to terminate the contract of Sixto Pena as an assistant maintenance man.
So moved.
Is that good?
Second.
Okay, so Ryan Ruda and Ryan Shrivogel. Moved and seconded to terminate employment of Sixto Pena. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to approve the resignation of Megan Little as a janitor.
So moved. Second.
Jill and Curtis. Moved and seconded to accept the resignation of Megan Little. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Anything else? I need a motion to adjourn. Jill,
And second.
Ryan Shrivogel. Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?